Welcome to the Private Lender Podcast with your hosts from Hard Money Bankers, Jason Balin and Chris Haddon. This podcast is sponsored by hardmoneymastermind.com.
Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the Private Lenders Podcast. Chris and Jason here, as always sponsored by hardmoneymastermind.com, our community of private and hard money lenders. Go check it out anytime, create a free account, hardmoneymastermind.com, and join the conversation there with us and all of the other members. Okay, so today we're going to be doing a recap. We just had the inner circle. So let me break down what that is. It's a few different levels or layers, I should say, to the Hard Money Mastermind. And the top one is the inner circle. This is a group of lenders from around the country that meet in person twice a year for mastermind style meetings. So what that typically means is there's always a couple presentations we do and stuff like that, and some additional events we'll get to. But the standard format of a mastermind that we originally learned when we were in Russell Brunson's mastermind some years ago, 7-8 years ago, something like that, is that everybody comes to share what they are working on and trying to improve or grow. And then you get feedback from all of the other members. And that feedback is super valuable because lenders, or any business person, but in this case, lenders, everyone's in a different spot in their business. They run it a little bit differently. They're going to have different resources, opinions, different input they can give you about how to improve. And so you learn not only from your own presentation of like, here's what I'm working on, I want to grow and improve, but also what every other person in the room has to say in the feedback they get. So the amount of knowledge that you pick up and resources and like possibly even deals, everything else is huge. It's incredible. We've experienced it from running the group and also from being in one, like I was saying.
And the thing about private lending or hard money lending is it differs so much across the board, and there's no right way and there's no wrong way to do it. I mean, obviously, the wrong way to do it would be to do bad deals and lose money or your investor capital. But in essence, like there's a lot of different ways that you can set it up, right? You might be, I don't know, high net worth individual, and you're just trying to deploy capital responsibly. And that's okay. Of your own money, you're not looking to raise any other capital. You might have some of your own money, and you're trying to raise other capital investors' money to deploy, and maybe you want to do it, a small scale, a few $1 million, maybe a year, maybe part time, maybe as a side gig, or maybe you want to grow it up and make it a gigantic operation and a gigantic company and have 30, 40, $50 million deployed. And it was interesting because the whole group was very different, but the same at the same time, right? They're all on different levels of their business. Some wanted to scale to larger levels than others, but they all had one common theme in mind. They all wanted to grow. They all wanted to be better at what they did. They all wanted to learn more, help each other. And it turned out to be very good, because even if you're whatever, at a smaller scale, the smallest group probably had a few $1 million deployed, some of their own money, some capital investors' money, and they're very ambitious to grow to the next level and to do more deals and be more responsible. And they could provide value to lenders that had 30, 40, $50 million deployed just from, expertise that they might have had, and vice versa. So the guys that had a lot of their own capital that weren't looking to raise capital, they could put good perspective to some of the operators of what they see as a capital investor side. Some of the ones that have lots and lots of deal flow and don't need any more capital, they're already kind of, there's just so many different variations, and it was kind of a good kind of verse group. And I think everyone obviously received tons of value, but I also believe that everybody gave value back. And we have a pretty intense interview process, right? It's not like, hey, pay us money and join the group. It doesn't work like that. Like, not only do you have to be at a place that you're like willing to be open-minded and learn, but you have to give back value. And there was a few lenders that we talked to recently that were willing to just, write a check and attend. And unfortunately, we couldn't approve them because they just wouldn't have been a good fit.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to let people into the group who wouldn't get enough value and give enough value, right? So that's why we have that screening process in place. And yeah, I want to do a little breakdown on what the group looks like, and then I want to go and do a few takeaways, a few key takeaways from the few days of meetings. So, okay, in terms of portfolio size, the room was, so we were 15 lenders plus us, right? 15 lending companies. Sometimes they're individuals, sometimes they have a partner, and anywhere from 5 million to 50 million. And I noticed that there is a lot of people, a good percentage of the room in that 5 to 10, which is a fine place to be, especially when you're starting out. Depending how much of your own money you're lending and what you want the scope of the whole thing to look like. Great place to start. And I feel like a lot of people would love to go from that 5 to 10 to around 20, right? Depending on what their goals might be. There might be a couple outliers there, but that's also a great lending business for sure. If you can grow the money, which I know for a fact, several of them will. And they came from, let's see, breaking it down. We have Florida, we have Michigan, Pittsburgh, Missouri, Alabama, Texas recently relocated to Boise, Idaho, but mainly lends in Florida. So like spread around, right? Not too much West Coast yet. I think that will come with time. Also, the business does differ a little bit out there. And yeah, like we were saying before, people have different needs based on where they are. Some folks are just looking to lend their own money. Some people are raising capital and want to do the full scope of the operation with proper servicing software and staff and the whole nine. And a few takeaways during the week, a couple things that I noticed. Like one, there is a very, very likely and good opportunity, and it's happening already, and I think it's going to grow, for people in the room to share deals. I think that there's just a great synergy between what people have and what they're looking for and what they can team up with. And I mean, an easy one is referring deals out. We refer deals out to the inner circle all the time, just because they come through our website. We don't lend in that state. If it seems like a qualified deal, we'll send it out. But then also partnering on deals too. Like it might be like, you want to come in on this one. I'll put up half the cash. You put up half, or maybe I have deal flow. You're looking to deploy. You can take the whole thing. Like the opportunity for deal sharing is huge. And that is like a very, very great way to back out, financially back out the whole relationship of being in there. Another takeaway I'll stick it of is that everybody really enjoyed being around other lenders for a few days. And what we did during the days were, the first day, a couple guys came into town early because they're golfers. So they came to play golf with us at the club where we play. And then after that, and that was a fun day for sure, we went to meet up with the rest of the group, the majority of them anyway, who were flying into town that night for a happy hour, not far from our office here in Columbia, Maryland. We were in a development called Maple Lawn with lots of retail and restaurants where the hotel was. Met up with everyone for happy hour and just got that. It was a really good idea of yours, Jason, that it's good to do that intro before we roll into meetings the next day, because then everyone comes into a full day of meetings having already met each other, hung out, had a few beers and appetizers, and gotten to know each other. So you don't have to walk into the meeting and like meet people, right? Because you met them the night before. So that was a really good addition for sure. And then it was 2 full days of the mastermind style stuff. I did a presentation the first day. We had our attorney from Philadelphia, does loan docs and everything, come in the evening. Then we had dinner that night. Next morning, Jason was on with his presentation. And then we rolled right up until maybe 5:30 p.m. when it was time for happy hour with those mastermind sessions. So mastermind days are heavy lifting, right? Like it's taxing on your brain because you're thinking so much, interacting so much, and you're focused. You know what I mean? To the point where at night when you get home, it's like, wow, like I'm physically tired from this day of meetings. You'd be surprised, but we've noticed that ever since we started in Brunson's group back then. So what I started with when I was before I, broke down what the few days looked like, is that everyone was really happy to be around other lenders because it can be a lonely business. If you're a lender, like if you have a business partner like we do, that's great because you get to, have someone to discuss everything that's going on with. Some people have that, some people don't. But even if you don't, it's not that often that you speak to other lenders like that, right? So it was awesome to have that experience. You could just tell the energy in the room. This is only our second inner circle meeting. The first one was really good, and this one was even better. Like the energy in the room, the interaction, how excited everyone was, how optimistic people are and looking forward to how they're going to grow their lending companies. That was another big takeaway too, right? Like being around other people and like the whole energy that everyone got from that.
Yeah, I think the like-mindedness of everybody, and and maybe this differs, but I feel like every private lender or hard money lending company, like real ones that lend their own money out or are responsible for other lenders, other capital, not institutional capital, but other private capital investors, like they're very open and willing to share experiences and help each other and things like that. And that's kind of what it was, kind of in a good way. And like you said, it could be a lonely business if you're one man. I mean, we're pretty we have pretty good relationships with everybody locally in our markets, other hard money lenders. And, so like, I don't know, I'm just thinking as we're talking that, everyone's pretty open locally and stuff like that, but it's good to just get a good, kind of a good relationship and a good kind of sphere of influence of how people operate in different markets, how they underwrite, how they raise capital. There wasn't really any overlapping markets, so it's not like anybody's really competing with each other. And that might happen in the future, if somebody falls out and we're looking to replace them with potentially another mastermind attendee or member, or if we decide to grow the group or things like that, maybe it could overlap in markets, but there's just so much market share to begin with that there's just tons of opportunities. And, even locally in our business, and there's lenders that don't want to mess with DC area. There's other lenders that don't want to mess with Baltimore area. Some lenders don't want to do, they want to do like low LTV deals, and they don't really care about anything related to the asset. Other lenders, they're willing to do higher leverage only to good quality borrowers. So there's just so many variations, and it's good to note how people are structuring deals. And, we kind of learned, sometimes you learn by teaching or coaching or facilitating. And there was really good questions that some people had, even really experienced lenders that have been doing this, for a long period of time. And it's that's a good point. I never really thought about that. Maybe that's something in our business that we should add as a process. But, we got very positive feedback from a lot of people. And I know a lot of people wrote lots and lots of notes. And I think they had a lot of good takeaways and a lot of good actionable items. And the best part about this group in general is we all get to stay in touch. Our first Zoom virtual call for all the current members in the group is going to be next month. And since we can't see each other, only twice a year, we do it via Zoom just to stay up to date. A lot of people have accountability partners and things like that, so they can kind of help with stuff. And, some people, they had big lofty goals that they pivoted a little bit. They said, you know what, maybe I need to reevaluate my business based on the feedback that I have here and change things up. So it's not only learning the trade of hard money, that's part of it, but it's also, creating relationships and buddy systems and support systems. And I'm not going to turn these around because everybody in the group, it's private and we don't share the list of who's in it. We talk about stuff confidential, but in essence, this is just a blank one, but in essence, at beginning of day 2 or lunch at day 2, we gave everybody a blank piece of paper and an envelope, and we asked them to write 3 goals down of what they wanted to accomplish before our next event. Our next event is in November in Nashville that we're doing. So everybody will be there, and we put 3 goals, and everybody wrote them down and then handed them back to us. And we're not looking at them; they're sealed. But in essence, we're going to mail them to them the week before the event and say, hey, are you on track? Are you on track to hit your goals? And we did this on the last event. Our buddy Ian Horowitz, who we're friends with locally, gave us that idea. He probably stole that idea from somebody else, but he's the person who gave us the idea. And it was great. And everyone's kind of reading them in front of everybody as well. We passed them out. We didn't mail them ahead of time. We passed them out at the event, and people are reading them. It was wow. I buy it. I haven't hit that goal yet, or I killed that goal, or I can't believe I wrote that down as a goal. So,
Right.
There's a lot of interesting things that come out of a group of like-minded people that all have the same goal of let's deploy money responsibly. Let's make a very good, handsome amount of money off our efforts, and let's grow businesses.
And let's do it efficiently. Let's do it efficiently with a proper team and systems and everything else. And yeah, I mean, it was a great week. Everyone took away good stuff. It is cool that they'll be able to revisit, and we will too. I wrote down some stuff. We'll be able to revisit our goals that we set for the November meeting. I'm just really excited about it. You know, like it went even better than I hoped, and totally looking forward to growing the group with the right people. And so if anyone who's listening or watching now is interested in applying for the Inner Circle, check it out at hardmoneymastermindinnercircle.com. As we said, our next meeting will be coming in Nashville in early November. Feel free to apply, go through the screening process, talk to our program director. And if you think you'll be a good fit for everything we just described, then we'd be happy to have you on board. So as always, thank you for checking out the Private Lenders Podcast, and we will see you here next time.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Private Lenders Podcast. Please note that the opinions stated by all the speakers on this show are only opinions and not intended for legal, financial, or accounting advice. Please make sure to always check with your own legal, accounting, and financial professionals. If you enjoyed this episode of the Private Lenders Podcast, we'd appreciate it if you would spread the word. Make sure to check out hardmoneymastermind.com, the #1 free community for new and experienced private and hard money lenders.